Hello again everyone, my name is Nathan, and in this video, I want to talk about MCP, what it is, how does it work, and how you can install and use MCP servers in 3 different AI tools. So MCP, or Model Context Protocol, is basically a set of standards that defines how applications can provide useful context to large language models, or LLMs. But instead of diving into the theory, let me show you a simple illustration to make it easier to understand. First, think about how you access websites on your computer or laptop. You open a browser, maybe Chrome, Safari, or Edge, and type in a web address like youtube.com or chatgpt.com or any other active web address. When you enter youtube.com, your browser sends a request through the internet to find the YouTube server. A server is simply a computer running 24/7 with no screen and no keyboard. Its only job is to provide responses to requests directed to it. Once the server receives your request, it sends back a response to your browser, which acts as a client. And your browser will work to display that response, which in this case will be the YouTube homepage. And that same process happens no matter which website you go to. If you type in chatgpt.com, your browser sends a request, the internet routes it to the ChatGPT servers, and the response comes back for your browser to display. So really, it's a 3-part process. The client, which is your browser, sends a request signal to the internet that acts as the messenger, which forwards the request to the server, the machine that sends back content and data. This entire interaction is built using Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or HTTP for short. It's the standard that all browsers and servers follow, and it works the same way regardless of what website you visit. Now, MCP is kind of like HTTP, but instead of managing internet requests, it manages how apps communicate with AI models. Think about how you use AI tools. Maybe you use Claude Desktop, Cursor, or Cline in VS Code. These applications act as clients in the MCP world. And the LLM, the AI model, is like the internet. It takes your request, figures out what needs to happen, and then sends back a response. Let's say you ask the AI to write an essay about the history of AI and save it as a markdown file on your computer. The model can definitely handle the writing part, but to actually save the file, the AI will need more context, such as how to write files to your computer. That's where MCP comes in. It gives the model access to structured, relevant information about your environment, like how to write files or how to fetch data, so it can complete the task properly. In practice, MCP is a small server that's installed and run on your computer, and it can be accessed by the client whenever the client needs it. Once you have the MCP installed, whenever you send a request to the LLM, a list of available MCPs will be included in the prompt. So the process can be simplified like this. First, the client sends a request to AI model on your behalf, including the list of available MCP servers. For example, you might ask the AI to write a 300-word essay and save it as a markdown file on your computer. The AI will process your request, and if it thinks it needs access to an MCP server to perform specific actions, it will send back a response to do so. The client receives the response. First, it will write the essay and then connects it to the file system MCP server over here, and then perform the required actions. In this case, save the essay text in a markdown file. The client then sends a report back to the AI, and based on this report, AI might finish the request or perform additional actions. And that's how MCP works in a nutshell. It simply grants AI models access to external services and tools required to get the job done. Just like HTTP, MCP routine will happen exactly the same way whenever you send a request that requires MCP to complete. For example, you might ask Claude to summarize a YouTube video. Well, using the YouTube MCP server, Claude can get the video transcript and then summarize the video content for you. Or you might want to convert Figma design to code. Instead of giving AI your Figma design image, you can connect the Figma MCP server and let the client fetch the design directly from Figma itself. The client will then send the design back to AI and it will write the code inside Cursor for you. The possibilities with MCP servers are endless, and we just scratched the surface in recent months. Alright, now's a good time to pause the video and take a moment to absorb everything we've covered so far. And when you're ready, we'll jump into the next part where we'll walk through how to install and use MCP servers so that everything starts to make sense. Now, before we get into the exciting part, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just click on the subscribe button down below, and please help me reach 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year, as it will mean a lot to me, making me feel more excited to create useful videos just like this one. Alright, so the way you install MCP servers really depends on which client you're using. For example, the setup process for Claude Desktop is a bit different from Cursor, and different again if you're using agentic coding tools like Cline. So before anything else, the best move is to check the documentation for the specific client you're working with. That's where you'll find the exact step-by-step instructions. That being said, there's one thing that applies to all clients, and that is you need to have Node.js installed on your computer. If you haven't already, just head over to nodejs.org and download the version for your operating system. In the next section, I'll walk you through how to install MCP in all three tools, starting with Claude Desktop. Okay, first you need to download Claude Desktop from cloud.ai/download. They have versions for both Mac and Windows. Once you've got it installed, log in with your Claude account, and the first thing to do is to test if Claude has access to your file system. In the chat box here, let's ask Claude to create a 200 words essay on the history of AI and save as a markdown file on the desktop. The essay is not important here because we only want to see if Claude can save it to our computer. Okay, so Claude has finished the essay, and here we can see that Claude says it can't access the computer file system and give instructions on how to save the file manually by copying and pasting the content. Next, we're going to see how to install an MCP server in Claude Desktop. So the first thing to do is you need to open the Claude Desktop settings page. It's on the top side here, and for Windows, you might see a hamburger menu like this. Note that this is Claude Desktop settings and not your Claude account settings. Now, click on the developer menu and then edit config here. Okay, we will be directed to the Claude Desktop config.json file over here, and you can open this file using a code editor. I will just use VS Code. You can also use other editors like Cursor or Windsurf if you have them. And here, you can see that it's just an empty JSON file where we can define the MCP server we want to use. For the first MCP server, we will install the file system MCP, which gives Claude access to files on our computer. So head over to modelcontextprotocol.io/quickstart/user here. I will leave the link in the description as well. And scroll down on this page until you see this Add the file system MCP server section. First, there's instruction on how to open the JSON file that we just did. And then here's the actual configuration we need to write on the JSON file. There's guide for both Mac OS and Windows over here. Note that the username path over here needs to be changed to the computer's username. Now I will copy this one and then paste it in the config JSON file. So you need to put your username here, in my case it's simply Nathan, and then adjust the downloads folder path as well. And now it's done, so save the file, and then back in Claude Desktop, we need to restart the app, so close, and then open it again to activate the MCP server. Back in Claude Desktop here, click the Tools button over here, and now we can see the File System tool here. This File System tool allows Claude to read, write, edit files, create directories, list directories, and so on. So now, back to the previous chat about writing an essay. Here we can ask Claude again to save the essay as a markdown file named historyofai.md on the desktop folder. Click the Submit button. Okay, so now Claude asks us for permission to run the list directories allow tool. We can allow always or just once or decline this permission. I will click allow once here. Let the process run for a while. And now it asks us to run the write file tool, so let's allow it again. And there we go. You can see that this time, Claude can save the essay as a markdown file on the desktop. So if I just open my desktop folder here, and yep, here is the essay file. Let's open it in VS Code. Here is the same content as the essay from Claude over here. And that's how we can install MCP server in Claude. Now, as a bonus tip, I want to let you know about an awesome MCP server that can install MCP servers on your behalf. If you go to this GitHub link, you will see the MCP installer server here created by GitHub user Annie Betts. And the about description says this is an MCP server that installs other MCP servers for you. How cool is that? Now scroll down a bit to the README description, and here you can see that with this MCP installed, you can simply ask Claude to install MCP in the chat box and it will be done for you. So let's do it. I will copy this configuration file and then paste it into my Claude Desktop config file. Below the file system MCP configuration, add a comma and then paste the MCP installer server configuration here. Save the changes, and now I will restart Claude Desktop again. And now let's open the tools window again. Okay, so the MCP installer takes a moment to load, and now we can use it to install MCP servers. So let's test it out. I'm going to ask Claude to install the YouTube MCP server, which can be found on this GitHub repo. It's created by the same user. So just copy the URL here, and then ask Claude to install it for us. Press enter, and then wait for a moment. And here you can see Claude used the MCP installer to install the MCP server, so let's allow it. And now it's done. So let's restart Claude again, and now I will open my YouTube channel and then copy the latest video I have created here. Now let's ask Claude to summarize it for me. Here we can see the MCP YouTube server is active, so let's ask Claude to summarize the video here. Here, we can see Claude wants to run the download URL from the YouTube MCP server. Let's allow it, and then wait for a moment. Alright, so it failed to fetch the subtitle, and now it gives me an overview by searching the internet about the title. Well, this is a generic summary from the internet and not from my video. But what I want you to see here is that Claude successfully used the YouTube MCP server tool, which is installed using the MCP installer. All installed MCP servers are working as expected, even if Claude might have trouble using them. And that's how you install and use MCP servers in Claude Desktop. Next, I will show you how to install MCP servers in Cursor. If you aren't familiar with Cursor, you can watch my beginner's guide to Cursor video. Link is in the description. Inside Cursor here, open the settings window on the top right corner and then select the MCP tools option. Here, click on the Add Custom MCP button, and here's the JSON config file again. And I'm going to open Claude Desktop's JSON file here as well. Okay, so we can see how similar the config files are. So you just need to write down the MCP server name, the comments and arguments, just like in Claude Desktop. Now in Cursor, we're going to install the Puppeteer MCP server. If you're not familiar with Puppeteer, it's simply a browser automation tool that's used to programmatically control a browser. By installing this MCP server, the AI model can control the browser, navigate to a specific website, take a screenshot, and extract the content of the website. You can find the link to this tool in the description. Now let's scroll down and search for the configuration that we can copy. And here is the configuration for Node.js, so let's copy this and then paste it into the MCP JSON config file for Cursor. Save this file, and if we go back to settings, we can see here the Puppeteer tool is already available, but it's not yet online as we have this red signal. To turn it on, we need to restart Cursor, so close the editor and then open it again. And here we can see Puppeteer is loading, and now it's green, which means the MCP server is active and usable. So let's test this MCP tool. Here I have opened an empty folder, and on the right side, let's ask Cursor to scrape the content of the Hacker News website. Press enter and let Cursor work on the request. Okay, now it's asking for permission to access Puppeteer, so the MCP is indeed active. We will allow it here. And here is a browser automatically open. I don't click anything here. And it opens the Hacker News website by its own. Now it's taking a screenshot. And here's the content of the Hacker News website scrapped by Cursor. Let's ask it to save it as a markdown file. Let's wait a bit here. Alright, here's the markdown file on the left side, and it contains the Hacker News website data. And that's it. Now we've learned how to install and use MCP servers in Cursor. And finally, I will show you how to install MCP in Cline, one of the most popular AI coding agents today. Here, I already have Cline installed in VS Code, and if you don't have either of the applications installed, you can view my previous video here so that you can get the AI tool on your computer. The link is in the description. Okay, so here in Cline side window, all you need to do is click this MCP servers icon at the top, and it will open the MCP marketplace. You can view all MCP tools available for Cline here, and for this tutorial, I will install the Notion MCP so that we can write and edit pages in Notion. This means we need to create an account in Notion. I already have an account here, so you can create one at notion.so if you want to follow along. So here in Cline MCP menu, I will just search for Notion, and here is the MCP server, so just click install. And now Cline will connect to the AI model. In this case, it's connected to Sonnet 4 in order to install the Notion MCP server. First, it will check for any existing MCP JSON file to make sure it doesn't overwrite any. I don't have any MCP installed yet, so it will start from scratch. I think here Cline is trying to install the node package and build it locally on the computer, so we will just allow it. Now, Cline says it needs an integration key, so we can create one on this link to Notion integration page that it provided. So click the link, and here we can create a new integration for Cline, fill in the details of this integration, and then click Save. Now click Configure Settings. Okay, in this integration config, we can select what access is enabled in this integration. Click the Access tab, and then here I will give access to my workspace. You can give access to only specific pages as well. Once you're done, click Update Access, and you can see all accessible workspace here. Back in the Configuration tab, click Show to see the secret token for this configuration. This token needs to be provided to the MCP server, so copy it. Okay, now we can go back to Cline and provide the integration secret to it. Now, the Cline MCP config is open on the right side here, and the token is also already added. Now, Cline is asking to test the Notion MCP by searching for pages here, so let's allow it. And it seems the MCP installation is not running properly. Let's open the MCP servers window again, and then open the install tab. Okay, here we can see that there's an error in Cline. Looks like the installation is unsuccessful. I think I will try to install this Notion MCP server manually. Okay, so here in GitHub, I can find the Notion MCP repository, so let's just scroll down here. And we can see the JSON file configuration here, the one that is similar to other MCP servers that we have installed before. So I will just copy this code, and then I will pass it into Cline MCP JSON file over here. Now save this JSON file, and we can see that Cline has automatically updated the MCP connection here. It's already green, so now we can use the Notion MCP in Cline. Alright, we will test if Cline can control my Notion workspace. Here I have a page titled The History of AI, which is still empty. We're going to ask Cline to fill this page for us. So back in VS Code here, I will instruct Cline to write a 200 words essay about the history of AI in a Notion page with the same title. Press enter to send the prompt, and now Cline will check on the Notion workspace integrated and search if there's a page named History of AI. And here it found the page, and now it wants to check the content of the page, and then this command will proceed to write the content. So I will approve this command and then quickly switch to Notion, and yes, here's the essay. You can see it just suddenly appear like magic. It says task is completed. So that's how you install MCP servers in Cline. Keep in mind that sometimes the installation from the marketplace may not work, and when that happens, you can try to find the MCP repository in GitHub, just like I did in this demo. If you like this video and would love to support the channel, you can consider donating to my channel through the Super Thanks option below. Or you can consider joining my YouTube membership, where you can use this channel's emojis, get early access to new videos, plus a lot more. And now we have learned how MCP works and how we can install and use MCP servers in AI tools. While the MCP routine is always the same, the way to install MCP can be slightly different depending on the client you use. But it usually revolves around putting the MCP server information in a config.json file. In this video, we have seen how to install MCP servers in Claude Desktop, Cursor, and Cline. And if you use a different AI tool, then you can Google how to install MCP in that tool to make sure you do it correctly. If you have a particular AI tool and MCP server that you'd like me to explore, you can comment down below and I will try to make a video on that MCP server in that tool. Also, I will show you how to create your own custom MCP server, so you can also leave a comment if that's something you'd like to see. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial. So, what do you think about MCP servers? Is there anything still unclear to you? I hope you all enjoyed today's video and get some value out of it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will join the conversation and reply as often as I can. If you're new to the channel, Code with Nathan is a channel dedicated to simplify complex tech topics so that you can master them easily. Make sure you subscribe if that's something you find interesting. Make sure you like this video, turn on the notification bell, all the good stuff, as it helps this channel to grow. With that being said, thanks again for watching until the end. I hope you have a wonderful day and I'll see you in other videos. Bye bye!